Hello everyone, here psst.one, welcome back in the regular schedule. I hope, yes, I will work on it. And sorry again. Today a new interview. This summer we had the opportunity to meet ARI DYKIER, a quite new visual artist in the scenes since 2 years, but in the last year he traveled a lot around Europe, and not only, to show his works, based on stop motion and surrealism imaginary. But he will talk about it, so enjoy! How did you start with visuals and this kind of field of live performance, VJing?
Most of my life I was working as a filmmaker, as a cameraman, and this is what I'm doing for a living for more than 20 years. But one day I decided to do something more, to make more activity and something that that will be more personal, that will be the thing that I'm going to create from myself and to share with people my ideas. And it was the reason I started to research among the different fields, and suddenly I found something that was quite new for me, because I found that people are mixing not only music, but they are mixing also images, they are mixing visuals, they are mixing footage, but they are also creating generative visuals, they are creating softwares. They're doing different amazing things, 2D, 3D, interactive or not. And it was exactly 5 years ago when I learned that there's something like this. There are people doing this amazing stuff. So I decided to learn a bit more. First of all, my very first experience was exactly 5 years ago. I came to Berlin, here to Berlin, for the workshop of United VJs, for the workshop of Pedro Zas. And he was teaching video mapping. And it was amazing experience. I was not experienced at all before. I had no idea how to work with it. And one of the exciting things was to learn how to make video mapping. But what I also liked about it, that this kind of creation gathers together people from different countries. So it doesn't matter from which country you are. After this very first experience in Berlin, I found an event called Live Performance Meeting, and I went there. Fortunately or not, it was in Cape Town in South Africa, but I decided to go there to take a part in workshops and to see what people are doing, how it looks like. But it still was just taking a look and to learn something. It took me another 2 years to make up my mind to create something by myself. So in 2015, I did my very first project, and I brought it to LPM, to Rome. And it was my debut, it was my first performance.
You started this research on this image, on this vision that you have in visual during that 2 years break. How did you get to the point to develop your style in this way with all this image, all this?
You are mentioning about these 2 years, but actually for me it was much more, because when I started to create this project, when I decided to create something, I started to think which way I should go, what would be the best thing. I'm not writing code, so I'm not good in generative stuff. I knew from the very beginning that it will be something connected with animation, because from my very early childhood I was really passionate about animation, and I knew from the very beginning that will be it will be something connected with this some kind of traditional animation. So when I thought about creating my project, I just followed my thoughts, my unconscious influences, and it took me to memories from my childhood, some stories I've heard about, some movies I was watching, mostly animated movies, some books I was reading, some dreams I remembered. And all of these images came to me, and they shaped in one moment in some kind of precise vision that was related to some surrealistic style. I referred later. I referred to some work, but at the beginning, I just started to collect all of these memories, and I put them to this surrealistic style together, and I mixed them as a one whole stream of images. After making my first performance, after making my first project, I showed a part of it to my sister, and she told me, well, it reminds me something. I think that it reminds me a movie we've seen together. And finally, I found that unconsciously I was inspired by a movie by Polish surrealistic animator Jan Lenica. He did a movie called Labyrinth in the 60s. And finally I found that a lot of elements I included in my first performance actually are included in my work. These are some shapes, some characters, some creatures I'm building from illustrations. And probably primarily it was my basic influence for what I'm doing. Actually, this year, the project I'm presenting, I'm also calling Labyrinth, just to make reference to his work, but also to the labyrinth, to the idea of labyrinth in the culture generally.
Okay. And why you choose to do this animation, but they are not smooth, they are more in a stop motion way?
Yeah. Well, actually, my basic software for what I'm doing is After Effects. And it's not generally like it was done before, like frame by frame. I'm using this power of software to animate, to make a movement of characters I'm building. So first idea is to invent how it looks like in my mind. Then I'm cutting illustrations. I'm building this character on this space or the movement, and I'm animating it in the software. So it's not generally like it was done in 60s. It's much easier to do it now, but this is why we have technology. We can make some things much easier than it was done before. We don't have to do it frame by frame. Even if it's also an exciting way, and you can achieve very nice effect doing it frame by frame.
Yeah. It's nice that someone at 38 years old start. You didn't think that will be your profession. Still now you have a different profession. From your experience, it doesn't mean nothing, the age.
Still, as I'm not considering it as a main professional career, I'm still taking it as something that is more for myself, for my expression, for maybe for something I wanted to do many years ago. So something that was much more for what I wanted to do as an artist, as a creator, as a creative person. I never thought about this, that maybe it's too late to start to do it, because there are many artists that started creating their work quite late, and they were famous about their work. Writers, painters, filmmakers. So the age doesn't matter for me. There are some, because in this field there are a lot of young people who are making visuals. They are working in clubs. They are working in clubs long hours in the night. So I cannot imagine myself right now in this age to work until 4 in the morning. But this is why I choose not to work as a VJ, straight as a VJ, but more like someone who is presenting my project, who is creating some kind of vision, who is taking audience for some kind of surreal trip, to experience something that we can find during this trip, during this connection with the art, but also with connection with ourselves. This is what I would like to share with people when I'm presenting my project. So it's not only for earning money, because this is what I was doing for last 20 years when I was working. It was just for earning money, for sometimes for having fun, but I decided to turn to this field to create my projects, to do something more than only earning money. But of course, it's always nice to take it both, to create something and to earn something from this creation.